What's up, YouTube? In my last video, I had meant to talk about digital nomads. I'd meant to talk about people, whether it's traveling around the world or whether it's just traveling around the United States in an RV or living in a van. Kind of that's the thing nowadays. Over the last 10 or 12 years, people calling themselves nomads or digital nomads. Anyways, it struck me that there's a concept called the perpetual tourist, where you travel the world. You're not legally domiciled in one country and you don't really pay tax. And you may have a residency in a tax haven where there's no tax, and you may have a bank or a business in yet another country. That's kind of the gist of it. Anyhow, usually when people talk about that lifestyle, they talk about, well, the understanding of that lifestyle is you have to be wealthy or you have to be rich, which in general I understand and accept and think that's to a certain extent true. Like if you're going to live in a tax haven or have money in a tax haven, you have to have capital. That's why I put money in a tax haven. But now in the world of 0% interest rates in most of the world, earning interest on your money isn't what it used to be, or earning interest on bonds isn't what it used to be. Even getting 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12% dividend yields on utility type shares in Europe and the United States is gone for the most part. Maybe not everywhere, but I haven't looked recently, but REITs in Singapore you used to get 5 or 6% on a REIT in Singapore. I don't know if that's true anymore. Used to be on a REIT, an Australian REIT or something like that, or UK or New Zealand, you could get 8 to 12%. In Canada, it used to be you could get basically, in some cases, 12% a year, like 1% a month. They would pay you monthly. Now I don't know the case anymore because I don't follow the share markets in REITs and things of that nature much anymore. But anyways, the idea of it used to be you would travel around, live off the interest and dividends, and maybe capital appreciation of your capital. Well, there's another way you can do that. What some people do, at least in North America, is they travel and live in a van, which would not be appealing to most people. Even living in an RV wouldn't be that appealing to most people. But it's kind of a trend that I've noticed over the last 10 years that it gets some media attention, but mostly the media attention is, oh, people are so poor they can't live in a house, so they have to live in a car or van, that kind of attention. They don't talk about the aspects of earning enough money to get by, or earning enough money to pay all your expenses to live in a van, and then saving all that money. In fact, I know a few people that kind of do that. Some live in a van, some don't, but what they do is they have online assets and they also do some offline work. And if you watch your channels, you wouldn't know this unless you knew these guys, but a lot of times while they're living in the US really cheap, maybe doing like living in a van type of thing, they also live in other parts of the world doing other things too. But we're getting to the point now where, or at least before COVID came, you could do all these things, earn enough money to live almost anywhere you want to live if you were willing to live kind of frugally. Well, why I bring all this up is because with COVID now, it's like you got to spend $100 to $200, $300, depending on the country, just to get a COVID test, just to enter. And to go to, like, say the UK, you got to go to the UK and stay in their special hotel for $1,750 or £1,750, I think. Canada proposed something like that, but they backed off it. And I don't follow Canada that much, so I don't know if they put those rules in or not. And then there's places like Costa Rica, you used to have a COVID test, but now you don't, apparently. But you got to pay $100 a month for travel insurance to visit there. Now, depending on your budget and your desire to go to Costa Rica, that might seem a little high. So what the effect of all this has been is, like, if you wanted to travel around and live in affordable countries as a perpetual tourist or as a digital nomad, I don't really like the term digital nomad, but if you wanted to do that, that's kind of come to an end right now. So now you have to kind of pick a place to live, kind of stay there and see what happens, see if things lighten up. The only reason I mention that is because I had wanted to travel around South America and Central America more to some of these kind of what some people call hippy dippy communities. Like as an example, I think it's in Denmark, they have Christian, some kind of city where like it's kind of a no man's land where anything goes, where the law enforcement doesn't really bother anyone. Well, they have places like that all over the world, and of course even in the U.S. they have these communes in like the United States. Well, like as an example, I think there's places like that, like say in Uruguay or Argentina or El Salvador, but I'm not really sure because it's not usually my thing. So leave it in the comment if there's any of these communal type places people live, or kind of artistic type communities people live that are kind of like what they have in Europe. But those used to be kind of cheap ways to live and travel. Anyways, my other point is it's not as cheap to travel now with COVID because airline prices have gone up, all the tests, all the insurance you may or may not need depending on just the political climate. So, because I was listening to Matt Smith and Doug Casey talk about how back in the good old days, what you would do is you just strap on a backpack, save up $5,000 or $10,000 in capital, maybe nowadays maybe 20 or 30,000, then travel around Central and South America, and then maybe hit Africa, maybe hit east a little bit in Asia, and kind of make business contacts, learn about the various places you can live affordably, what the opportunities are in those places of the world, things like that. That's kind of what I've always wanted to do, and I still am thinking about doing that. The thing is, right now you can't really do that because I guess you still can get cheap tickets, but it's just not like the way it used to be. You could get on an airplane as an American or as a U.S. passport holder and just expect to be able to land there and either get a visa free or visa on demand when you go there. Because even right now in the Philippines and Thailand, unless they change it, they may have changed it, you just can't get a visa. You have to apply for a visa before you can go in. You used to could just fly into the Philippines. They give you 30 days. Then you renew it up to 3 years. It used to be 2 years or 1 year, but now they extend it to 3 years. But then now with Corona, now that's all changed. Now you got to actually apply for a visa. And unless you're married or have a spousal thing like that, at least right now, or at least in the last couple of weeks, they wouldn't let you get a visa to go there, not as a tourist. Anyways, I'm not sure if this is the end of what people call digital nomads or nomadism, because even in the States, when some lockdowns happened, like say in California, a lot of the state parks where a lot of those van dwellers live and RV people live for free, where you can camp, you can do, I forget what they call it, dispersed camping. You can disperse camp in most national parks for, I think, 14 days. I might be wrong on that. Then you have to move. So you can camp for free for 14 days and you got to move on. And it used to never really be enforced, so you could kind of stay as long as you wanted. Well, they stopped all that, and a lot of the parks, they put barriers, like concrete barriers, so you couldn't even get in the park. And so all those guys had problems finding places to legally camp their rig or their van or their RV. So that's kind of happened. I hate to call it the offshore world, but that's happened all over the world, where you really have to search for a place you can go to, like Mexico. You can travel there. You used to travel to Brazil without a COVID test. Now you do. Right now, as we speak, Peru is still in a lockdown till February. I think February 28th. I read. I think Colombia just opened up. You can now fly into Colombia. I think it's been like that for a while, but I do believe you have to have a COVID test. But I think all that's going to change because so much of the world's been devastated. The tourism industry. But I'm not convinced governments are going to try to bring it back. I want to see what happens, but what I'm interested in is asking the question, is traveling around the world like as a backpacker really affordably, is that basically over? We're not going to see that come back? Are we now going to like live in these smaller communities and not travel extensively as we used to? That seems to be the feeling right now from some of what I've been hearing. Like we're not gonna be able to affordably travel anymore. Only if you're wealthy, and even then, as everyone may have heard, you're gonna have to have a COVID passport or a health passport, and that might be even more important than your national passport. Like having a health passport, and if the government can just shut down your regular passport, and if they can just shut down your COVID passport, well, then the jig is up. That's partly why I like to talk about these issues. I'm kind of curious to see where people think things are going. So far, I've been wrong. I thought things would be back to normal, but they haven't been. I thought there'd be more pushback against, especially in Europe and the United States, against all these small businesses being shut down because of shutdowns, but so far there hasn't been any real pushback. I still think there's what they have in the U.S. is called the quiet majority. I still think they'll have something like the quiet majority stop cooperating with the government and all these rules and regulations. So I want to see what if anything becomes of that. But so far, like if you have a dream or a desire to strap on your backpack and 5 or 10 or 20,000 in cash and work your way around the world. I remember, what's that lady's name? There's an English lady who used to have a book called Work Your Way Around the World. I can't remember her name. She had a really, really awesome book. Back in those days, you could go to like West Germany. You go to West Germany and collect bottles and get the money for collecting bottles. That was pretty cool. And all these work around the world gigs she would have listed in her book. Not like nowadays where everyone just works online, but I think Susan Griffin's. Put in the comments if you remember Susan Griffin's, if I'm getting it right. She had a book called Work Your Way Around the World. I don't know if she's even still around, but that was a really great book. Then the other book I really liked that was kind of like that was Doug Casey, International Man. Those were my two favorite books growing up as a kid. Anyways, like I just get this feeling, this ability for us Westerners to travel around the world really cheaply and affordably might be coming to an end. I don't know. Maybe it'll just be by regions. Like if you're in Asia, you can live, work, and play there. If you're in Latin America or South America or something, you can live, work, play there and travel. Maybe. We'll have to see. But maybe the days of flying from all these different regions cheaply and with no visa are over. I don't know. Anyways, that's just kind of a short rant on that. I'd like to know, where are the places in Latin America or South America that are really still super cheap to like kind of live and kind of be left alone. I'm thinking some of the out of the way places in Uruguay, possibly Paraguay, possibly Argentina. I never really think to go to Argentina because of all their chaos, but I'd like to visit there and see what's going on. In the past I would have said Chile, but Chile is so expensive, but it's a really beautiful country. And Argentina is a beautiful country too, but they always have this chaos going on where it's hard to change money and things can cost you a lot more if you can't get the official black market rate. Things can double if you can't get that rate. Anyways, I'm still mentally thinking Latin America, South America, like where are going to be the cool, cheap places to live and go. Probably not Brazil, probably not Bolivia, probably not Ecuador. Seems like those, well, especially Ecuador has a lot of gringos. I don't know what's going to go on there, but I just don't get the feeling good things are going to happen there. Bolivia should be a good place, but the people who run that place seem to want to run it into the ground, and the voters keep voting for kind of crazy people. Same thing could be said about Argentina, but at least in Argentina you have more of a, as people call it, the Europe of the South. I don't know how much that's true. I've never been there, but from everything I've seen there, it looks interesting to visit there. It looks actually more interesting than Peru, but I can't say since I haven't been, but I would like to kind of check out parts of Brazil, parts of Argentina, parts of Uruguay, and parts of Paraguay. But most of those countries, if you're a U.S. passport holder, you don't have to spend a lot of money for the visa. But used to be Brazil, you did, but they stopped this last year or the year before. Paraguay, I think you had to pay $150 or $200 to enter, I think, if I remember right. When you factor in all the fees to get a COVID test, and then you factor in all these fees to go to Bolivia, because I really wanted to go there, but you have to get a visa and pay, I think, give them $200. used to be, I added up once, you have to pay $600, $700, $800 to go to all these countries just for the visa fees. I think Chile, you guys spend $160 to go into that country. But right now on my bucket list, if things go the way I would like them to go, which is not always the case, my bucket list might include Argentina, Brazil, parts of Peru maybe. I think I'm forgetting one of the countries there. The northern part of South America, I like to visit there. All those little countries, the one that, I forget the one that uses the euro. But the visa fees, and now with Corona, you can't easily get in there. They're not super affordable. The hotels are very expensive, and in general, I don't think they want tourists coming in anyways. But I would like to visit those countries too. But in general, from what I've seen, they don't make it easy for foreigners to visit there. Anyways, I guess that's my question: is are we at the end of kind of this digital nomadism thing? Things going to get back to normal or not? I don't know. Anyways, I'm going to upload this video and see what the comments are. Have a good evening wherever you are in the world. Thanks, bye.